just as a follow-up on that, I had a lot of reservations myself, and I am not opposed to low-income housing, so I went one step further. I don't know if it's one step further, he did a very good job. But I went and talked to people that had to deal with low-income housing projects. They don't even call it a development. The person I talked to had been well acquainted with these types of projects. She says she doesn't call them developments anymore, she used to. And she said, why does the government keep doing this to low-income people? She said, think about this. After I explained the thing to her, I didn't take sides. She says, think about this. How would you as residents like me to pick a street and put all low-income housing on your street? If you really want to do somebody for low income, mix them in with you. Let them live beside yourself, Dave, or Julie, or anybody. Instead, is what you're telling us, you're going to pick a strip out on Highway 10 with 40, 50,000 cars, undesirable for any other residents, put a fence around it, and then you expect that to not fail, she said. She said, I'm not saying everyone fails, but she says it is doomed for failure. She says, if you think that anybody with 44,000, or I forget what the limit was, is going to live in there, you're crazy, because that's a high enough income to get a house. So now you're going to the bottom of the ladder, and like I said, she's well acquainted with them. And she says, and you're telling us low-income people who you really want to help, no, we don't want you in your neighborhood, but we'll stick you out there on Highway 10 and put a fence around you. And she says, you tell me how that is going to succeed. Tell me really how it is going to succeed. How would you feel? And I don't know if this council or part of the council realizes this. They think they're helping those people. We're not helping them. She said so. She's seen them. She's lived in Washington. I guess I want to make that point, that we got to really look back and see, and like I said, we've met all our quotas and everything. And like I said, if we really want to help and sincere helping low income, there's a lot of other opportunities to put them in a house where they can be proud of, fix up, and they'll probably work harder than most people to do it. One other thing is can I ask a question? Why wasn't it put in the newspaper? That public hearing was not put in either the Focus or the New Brighton Bulletin, and it was only put in the St. Paul Pioneer Press, which I would say 90% of the people don't get here. Can that question be answered?
So Ray, isn't that posted in the New Brighton Bulletin?
Wasn't.
Nope.
Nope.
Isn't that interesting? You know, Dwayne asked why the people didn't know about this, and I was checking, and I wasn't aware of it. I missed a few meetings, but it was not put in the Focus, the New Brighton Bulletin, and the only paper it appeared is in the St. Paul Pioneer Press, who, like I said, I would dare say 90% of the people don't get it, and I'm asking why. I mean, you are the people that we voted in that said, you know, we need more communication, let the people know, but yet on an important project, probably more important and controversy than any other one I've dealt with, we did even not tell the people either in the Focus or that. I'm just asking why not.
And I cannot explain that at this
So
time.
no one has an answer.
Mr. Whitington may want to...
I don't have a specific answer, but you're right. We do normally put hearing notices in the Focus and in the Bulletin. I think the Bulletin is our legal paper. I cannot say why we didn't do it. I recall a conversation, we may not have met the deadline for putting an ad in the paper. The reason why we may not have met the deadline was that there wasn't a requirement to do a public hearing for this kind of an issue. Now, I think we recognize, staff certainly recognizes now, the amount of interest in the issue, and I do recall that there was an article in the paper regarding the concern, but the article in the paper is not the same as a notice, and that's what we should have done.
But you did call it a public hearing.
Right.
So once you recognized it was a public hearing, I believe it should have been in the Focus.
You're correct.
Okay. The other thing is the other questions that's asked a lot is, we've had this on the market for I don't know how many years, but yet, and they say 1 month to how long? No one has given a clear-cut answer how long this property was really on the market. Does anybody know that question?
Imagine, if I can, Mayor and Council, imagine since we purchased it, the city, which was sometime last year,
I think that we purchased it in 1995.
That's correct,
the house that was there was torn down
in 95.
since I've been here, which would have been after April of last year. I don't remember the specific time period, but it was either last fall, it wasn't that long ago.
Oh, you saw the house?
The blue house.
Oh,
Okay,
you saw the house,
okay.
okay. So it took us a while to get that
So
organized.
it was
'cause we had to
purchased
do
in
environmental
95,
studies.
it was purchased in 95, and it was demolished in the early part of 96.
Sometime after April of '96, so that's my
So
reception.
really, during that time, we didn't even have it on the market, right?
I think that RFPs were sent out at Christmas in 95 for a couple of months before the house was torn down. I don't know, we don't have a realtor. The city doesn't use a realtor.
Right, so in other words, the word out there that the people are getting is, we've had this on the market, we can't sell it, and we haven't even had it the way it sounds on the market for maybe a year at the most. Boy, I guess that's unbelievable. I mean, that is unbelievable that somebody tells us that we haven't had other opportunities, and let me tell you, like the gentleman said, I don't even know if we've given it a chance for another opportunities. A year or whatever, that you can't give me an answer on either one. But that's a very short time to have commercial property on the market and try to get a developer to get a commitment of anywhere. And all I'm saying is like I said, please rethink this before August 25th. Yes, the citizens are very concerned. There's some things that we're going to try to point out to you before then. Many of the people in the residents of this building still don't even, they're starting to be aware of it now. And like I said, think about the things that I said in my prior one. Are we really helping low-income people? I don't think so, and if you really think about it, I can't see how anybody would. I don't know of anybody here, maybe there is some, that would want to raise their family out on Highway 10 in a fenced area. And when you look at that area, it is not very big. I sat down and looked at that, and I didn't do the ratio versus the housing to the space, taking an average home, and what space they have, and what each family would have there with 3-4 bedrooms. And like I said, all I'm asking you, council members, is please think about this and take another look at it. One other question is the management firm that we listened to the last council meeting, how fine of a management firm they were and everything else, and when we tried to check on them, we couldn't get very good results and very good records. What happened there? Do you know why they strongly said this was such a good management company, and we found out, not going to say it was the worst, but it wasn't as well as they said it was?
Dave, we can respond to those questions, and we do need time to research these
Okay,
things.
that's
and,
fine.
this is a time for comments, and if you have the questions, we'll research them, but we won't respond to the questions this evening.
And that's fine, Is it proper to ask the question?
Yes, you may.
Respond later?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you may.
I don't want to be out of order. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Sir?